Tenby is probably the most beautiful town in Britain. It combines marvellous seascape, landscape, townscape, and an extremely interesting and exotic history. Its town is based around 13th century town walls, which are pretty well intact, and a great many merchants' houses in the old town near the centre. A famous one is the Tudor Merchants' House, which is now owned by the National Trust and run by them. In about 1803 or so, a chap called William Paxton built a spa, and turned the town into a typical Georgian spa town. And that's where our story begins. This house in Bridge Street, which we've recently, or in the stages of restoring, it's got this fantastic Pembrokeshire yellow, a really vivid colour. If you notice the front of the house, it has a variety of windows from all periods, 18th century, and it has in fact one of the earliest, probably the earliest, timber sash window in Tenby. The house has been converted into a home. It had become derelict. The roof had got damp, the parts of the slates had fallen in, pigeons had got in, and it had become pretty uninhabitable. If we walk inside, we have a variety of historic features. For example, a balustraded staircase from probably the 17th century, and some even earlier oak trusses. We take electricity for granted, but in the 18th century lighting was provided by candlelight, and this candlelight and the various pig fat lamps that we use to illuminate houses created a sort of greasy layer on the surface, and that's why the layers of lime come away, and we can see underneath the layers of lime something of the history of the colour scheme of the house. As the wallpaper came off the walls and the cement came off, we can see these very, very rare examples of wall stenciling. Wallpaper tax was introduced by Queen Anne in 1712, and it was a wealth tax, really, to raise money. At that time, wallpaper was relatively expensive and only the rich could afford it. By 1809, it was a shilling a yard, which is extremely expensive. There are three extraordinary examples of wall stenciling in this house. The first one, this vivid Pembrokeshire yellow ochre colour as a background, is in a brick pattern, and it's an outline of dots with sunflowers in the centre, and we can see this example in these little fragments on the wall. One is in a first floor bedroom. That was the first one we found, and that was underneath the partition wall. I think that was developed by painting the wall in a base colour and then drawing stripes down the wall and then overlaying stencils, which were often made of either lead cut out or out of waxed paper, shellacked paper. In this case we have one with a whitish background and with a sort of green and a grey, which might be made of lamp black. The third example is a very, very complex pattern. In the first room you come to, probably the room that the merchant who owned it would have brought his customers in here. Above the dado is a squared floral pattern, which is very rich and includes at least 4 colours, including a stenciled border, which I've not seen before. Recreating the original pattern is difficult given the degradation of the walls, so we don't really quite know what to do about conserving these. For now we'll probably cover them up, but we leave them as part of the current interior decoration. The wallpaper tells us something of the economy of the town and how the economy changed and how there must have been an enormous wealth in the town. I think there's some sort of understanding now that architects can bring to a project an understanding and a desire to investigate history and really understand those little secrets that buildings hold for us.